All right, but Dom, this is actually interesting because I think it's the first time I bring someone on the podcast who I know, like personally, and so I was coming up with questions to ask you, and I was like, well, I already know the answers to these questions, but it'll be fun for the audience to know. So for the people who don't know, Dom is one of my favorite bodybuilders. Dom is, to be honest, you really strike me, and I know him personally through conversations, on the phone and stuff like that. He strikes me as a person with the kind of ethics that I grew up with. My friends back home in Dubai are similar to Dom. He's a straightforward guy, disciplined guy, honest guy, sacrifices for others. So I'm so happy to have you on the podcast, Dom.
No, dude, thank you for having me. I appreciate that. That means a lot. And I'm a big follower of your podcast since you first started it. So it's awesome to be on.
It really flattered me when I knew that you were following the podcast because I was watching your podcast for years, and always loved listening to your analysis of bodybuilding stuff and hearing your personality on your podcast. And I actually missed you off YouTube for a while, so it was surprising to me when I received a message from you and I knew you were following the show.
Yeah, no, I've been following you since the beginning. So it was cool to go from watching you do, the informative educational podcast and then getting into the bodybuilding world too. So I've been following you for a while. So now once you combine the two together and you've been bringing guests on and getting, people's experiences, you just took it to a whole nother level. So it's awesome for me to finally be on your podcast because, I think we could do something cool for the viewers because I like to share some of my experiences as well.
And you have a lot of experiences. So to begin with, I wanted to ask you something interesting. So I grew up watching, well, I not grew up. I guess I was a bit older than you. So I was probably 17 or so when I started watching The Sopranos. So you're an Italian guy.
That's my favorite show ever.
What I wanted to ask you is, you're an Italian guy. You grew up in New Jersey at the time that they were filming The Sopranos. It's sort of the same time period, the 90s, right?
So I actually grew up in New York.
Oh, you grew up in New York. You're not from New Jersey.
Brooklyn, New York. No, I don't know why. Everybody always thinks that. Like I meet so many people here. You're from New Jersey. I'm like, no, I'm from Brooklyn, New York. Proudly. Everybody
get offended. People also get offended. I'm so sorry. I don't mean to.
No, dude. I don't get offended.
You know what that's like? That's like when I'm half Arab, so I live in LA. So often in LA, I'll ask a Persian guy if he's Arab, and they get really offended, upset about it, which is funny because I'm Arab. So when they get offended, I'm like, why are you offended that? But anyway, yeah. So you're from Brooklyn. Which area is it? East Brooklyn or which area of Brooklyn?
I think it's more North Brooklyn. Because South Brooklyn's like Williamsburg, Bed-Stuy, whatnot. So it's more north.
Where's Bensonhurst?
Bensonhurst was actually 15 minutes away from me. That's actually where my dad grew up.
No way. That's a really famous area where it's like really Italian and historical area. It used
to be all Italian back in the day. I mean, that was like in all the movies you'll see with the mafia movies and everything. Bensonhurst was like it. That and part of Queens. But now it's like very mixed. It's a very, very mixed. I mean, you have a lot of Asian there now. There are a lot of Arab. You still have some Italians there, but now it's very mixed up. I mean, pretty much all of Brooklyn is now.
Where's Ozone Park or something?
Ozone Park is Queens. So that's very mixed now. That was like 20 minutes from me. That's mixed, but you still have a lot of Italian there. That's another heavy Italian area. But now you have a lot of Pakistani, Arabic, Indian, and then the Italians.
So New York has become much more cosmopolitan as you grew up?
Oh, very. Yeah, very.
So it's not like so much there's Italian neighborhoods, Puerto Rican neighborhoods, Dominican neighborhoods anymore?
No, I mean, it really depends where you go. Like, for instance, you go to Sunset Park, Brooklyn, all Hispanic, all. Not mixed at all. But in terms of like the Italian areas, not anymore. You got a lot of Jewish areas mixed in with everything. Let's see, in Bay Ridge used to be very Italian. That was near Bensonhurst. Now that's a lot of Asian. So it mixed up, but a lot of it is cosmopolitan, like you just said.
Did you grow up with? I know the answers to these questions, but for the audience, did you grow up with siblings?
Yeah, 2 brothers and a sister, and they're all younger.
And you had 2 parents growing up?
Yeah.
Now, there's something very striking that happened in your life, in your formative years that changed your life. What happened between your mother and your father, and how did that experience change? Well, first, what happened?
Well, basically, October 6, 2014, my mom was diagnosed with AML, acute myeloid leukemia. She had the weirdest health issues for a couple of years. I mean, trigeminal neuralgia from a root canal, which she needed brain surgery for. she got hit by a car, and many years before that, and the titanium broke in her neck like 3 or 4 times. And then, she gets hit with leukemia out of nowhere. And so anyway, watching her go through I turned pro nationals 2014. She was able to be there. So yeah, she went through this for up until she passed away May 3rd, 2016. So she hung in there pretty well. But that was the biggest change in my life. Because, growing up, I had a very good childhood. Very good parents.
You had also like a hard-working childhood, right?
Yeah. So my dad basically, he was a general contractor since he was like 17. In 1999, he went completely into decorative concrete, which he actually became very well known around the world doing. He had me, my brothers, even my sister, in his shop and on job sites at the age of 6. So, learning, even if it was just sweeping or acting like we were doing something, but we would work weekends. Summer times, he would offer us to work for him and make some money. In our household, we always had to earn things. The only time we got things was really on holidays, and that was only so much. So, but it was great too, because, I think it also helped me develop the mindset I have, when I went into bodybuilding and being able to have the discipline and work ethic and whatnot, and then everything else I do in life now too.
And you were close with him growing up as well? You had a close
very, very, yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. So are you guys still very close, by the way?
Oh, yeah, no, we're very close. The only thing that sucks is we don't live near each other. But, when I think we got even closer, after my first show, he asked me to make him a diet because he was like trying to quit cigarettes. He was like skinny fat. I said, all right, sure. And
hey, wait, how did he think? Okay, so I was going to ask you about bodybuilding later and how you got into it, but how did he feel about when you got into bodybuilding? I'll ask you why you got into it later, but how did he think of it?
You know what? They didn't really know what I was getting into because I originally got into football, which we'll get into, but they didn't really know. So anyways, I remember telling them doing a show. Yeah. And I remember my friend Mike was spray tanning me in the yard, and I run in my house with like a thong on, the posing trunks. And she's looking at me, she's wondering like, what the fuck is going on? Like after like a year of like meal prepping, and I always covered up in hoodies because I always wanted to be like Kai Green. So they never really seen how I looked. And then they came to my show, they see me win my classes there, and then they loved it. Like they were just all about it. And before that, they didn't really understand what I was doing 100%. But when they see me do it, and they see me win, then they became very supportive.
I wanted to ask you, what is this hoodie thing that bodybuilders do? Why do they do it? Why does Kai always why do they work so hard on their body and then just cover everything all year?
So, I actually took that from him when I was like 15, 16. Yeah. And, when I was young, a lot of guys, like my first coach was Fahkri. You know Fahkri very well.
Yeah.
And he was very big. He would always tell me, always stay humble, this and that. So in my head, I'm like, I see Kai covered up. I'm like, I'm not really doing bodybuilding for others. So I was like, okay, I'll stay covered up. Yeah. And it just stuck as like my thing. And now I always train with a hoodie. And plus too, it's also a mental thing too. Like, when you're in a gym, naturally bodybuilders have some insecurities. It is what it is. And, I would rather not care about how I look in the mirror, how others look at me. My hoodie's on. I'm there to train. I'm there to focus, and that's it. And then when it comes time to take it off and I really look like something before a show, then it's there. It's much more shocking.
It's actually really distracting, to be honest. You're very right. It's really distracting to be seeing yourself in the mirror while you're working out.
Oh, yes.
You're right, actually. Yeah, that's such a good point. I never even thought of that, actually. Yeah, I just thought it'd be so hot to be wearing a sweater also.
You get used to it real quick because now it's hard for me to train with, unless it was like 90-something degrees in the gym, then I'm wearing a T-shirt. But I got so used to it throughout, even training with Oscar Arden's gym and training throughout many hot gyms, it just became more of a part of my routine.
You know why I wanted to bring up your mother's passing early on in the discussion is because it's interesting, some people go through life early on, especially at our age, and don't see true suffering and don't experience great loss. And it's so striking that at your age, you're younger than me, you experienced such a great loss. And also speaking of your mother's story, what you talked about her having gone through suffering repeatedly in her life. Like I seen this in my own grandmother who died at the age of 50 of liver cancer. She never drank before. She was an Arab woman. Her whole life was sort of miserable. In life, there's real suffering, true suffering. And I just wanted to say that to the audience, and that's why it's so important to have meaning in your life and to have family and to have love and things like that. It's beautiful that you have that relationship with your father and so on. And, it's a testament to your character, really. But there is suffering in life, and this is why I highly recommend a book called by Viktor Frankl called Man's Search for Meaning. If the audience wants to look at it, I don't know if you ever heard of it, by the way.
I haven't. No.
It's a great book. It's written by a guy who was in a Nazi internment camp, who was a psychiatrist, talking about the importance of having meaning in life, to be able to go through. You can go through any struggle if you have a reason to go through it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not doing it for yourself, if you're doing it for others,
It's true.
Yeah. Anyway, but back to your youth though. How did you get into bodybuilding when you were younger? You're growing up with a blue collar family. What brought this bodybuilding thing into your life? What got you into using a thong in the first place?
Yeah. So even when I first started, I said I would never do that. So basically, I played football my whole life. I loved football, and I wanted to go pro one day. That was like my thing. And then I got into high school. It was a Catholic high school, Severian. So they were pretty well known for their football team. I played my freshman year. So then, I was a middle linebacker, and they wanted me to, train for fullback for the sophomore year. So they started us in the school gym a month before school closed. So it's funny because I remember my first leg workout like it was yesterday. My first workout ever was legs. And my strongest body part was always my legs. It was just funny how this was. And I went into the gym. I remember going on a leg extension, and I'm going nuts on it. Like I'm just ripping through it, and I'm doing like half squats because I didn't really know how to squat. And then the day after, I couldn't walk. And you actually seen my teardrop in my leg already developing a day or 2 days after. Yeah. And my mom comes in my room. I'm like, Mom, I can't go to school today. She goes, why? I'm like, I can't move. This is my first ever workout. And she goes, well, you better go to school if you're not doing this working out shit anymore. I'm like, and she goes, what's wrong with your leg? Like you're seeing like these little lumps in the side of my leg and the teardrop. And then this is where I noticed like, okay, like, and then a month into training, I gained 30 pounds naturally.
What?
I mean, it wasn't like the leanest, but I was eating, and yeah, people noticed it. I remember my next to me.
Were people in your family muscular naturally?
So that's the thing, not really. I had no idea we had genetics like this. I mean, I always had big legs, even before I worked out. I was actually self-conscious as a kid because I would see other kids in their football pads, and I'd be, why are my legs so big?
But it's not just your legs. You had a very proportionate body. I mean, you were very, very quick responder. And to training as well, not just to androgens.
Everything was very quick. And then, I started the training, and then I was going to go into my sophomore year. I was beginning of summer. My dad's like, listen, I'll get you signed up at Gold's Gym down the block, and you go. He went for a day. That was it. And then I just, I started training. And then 2 months in, I'm like, you know what? I want abs. I want to look better. And I was like, I don't think I'm going to play football anymore. I just loved working out. I loved researching. I loved reading about it. That's all I did. I just read about working out, bodybuilding, and then I got abs. And then, I said, I'm going to compete. And then that was it. And then I met a good friend of mine, Mike Jarovic. He's actually my best friend. He was 24 at the time. I was 15, 16. And he took me under his wing, introduced me to Fahkri, and that's how I really got my start into bodybuilding.
When did you meet Fahkri? How old were you?
So if I competed, it was just about right when I turned 16. Because the first time I competed was 2010.
Okay, moving back though, is there a culture in Brooklyn where you grew up for bodybuilding like there is in New Jersey and those other areas?
So there used to be very heavily.
Okay.
Like the gym I went to was Gold's Gym. When they changed the names, it kind of went to shit, but there was a very big bodybuilding community. Okay. And even people that didn't compete, it was still a very great community to be in. There was like a camaraderie, and that's what I loved about it too. And then it changed throughout the years.
But were all the young people in high school, were they all jacked? Or was it? No, it wasn't. It wasn't like a normal thing. Like everybody.
That's what was cool. Like,
okay.
Because, kids in the weight room, they were talking how they were benching all this weight. And then I put on all this muscle, and then they're like looking like, what the hell is going on? It was a cool feeling. It was a little bit of an ego stroker.
I wonder if it's because you're younger, because your generation wasn't so into muscle as the older generations, or if it's just because Brooklyn's different. It's so mixed. I saw like the Jersey, like I have this idea of New Jersey being the Jersey Shore. Everyone's muscular. Everyone works out. They go clubbing.
At one point it was.
It was in New Jersey.
Yes.
Was New York ever like that with the Italian community? Do they have that kind of culture? Because Dubai is like that. Arabs are like that. They're all jacked. They all take steroids. They all go out. Similar
So
culture.
in a way, before I got into bodybuilding, it was like, because like I said, a lot of my friends are older, so they were involved in that whole scene, you know, going out partying and getting jacked and everything. And
Yeah, they are. Oh, okay.
yeah, but it changed quite a bit.
So, also I wanted to ask you, when you were reading about bodybuilding in your age before you met Fahkri, where were you reading? Which websites did you used to check out? Which forums?
Anything I get my hands on, bodybuilding.com.
Oh, there was still bodybuilding.com? You know,
Yeah,
my account on bodybuilding.com was started in 2003.
really?
Yeah, I was a long time ago. I mean, not one of the first people, but a long time ago. I remember Lane Norton posting there. He was also a teenager. We were both in high school, I think. But I didn't have my name up, obviously, but he had his name up. He used to post in the nutrition section a lot. Yeah, I don't know if that forum still exists. Do people post on forums anymore? They don't really. Huh?
Not really. Even like the steroid forums are kind of dead too. Like even before you started using gear or anything, like I enjoyed going in there because I wanted to read about the chemicals and what they said about nutrition and training, because you obviously have more experienced people on there. But I read whatever I could, books, any websites I could find about nutrition training. I mean, my dad would say, like, for a little bit, my parents were concerned about me. Like, he laughs about it now, because why was I always in my room? I just would go to the gym, go to school, and that was it. And he came in my room and goes, "Is everything all right?" And he just see me like all these papers on my wall and near my computer. And he was like, "I'm like, oh, I'm reading." And then it appeared to them like what I was doing.
Yeah, that actually happened to me also. My father wasn't living with me, but he used to visit me every so often and used to see. He was suspicious of what I was doing. He was like, "You're always in your room, you're reading a lot, you're going to the gym too much." And then one day he came, he said, "You're starting to look like a bodyguard." I was 15 years old. He's like, "Why do you want to look like a bodyguard?" Because I was like, why and stuff like that. He was very concerned. And then he started saying, "Are you taking steroids?" But I wasn't taking any steroids. I ended up not taking them for many years. But did they ask you the same thing? Were they suspicious you were taking steroids?
Oh, no. Actually, I remember my first time I got Nitrotech. It had creatine in it, I think. It was a Muscle Tech product. And in my head, I'm like, oh, man, they can't see this and that. So I'm like, all right, one day I had to get the determination to go to him and be like, "Dad, look what I'm taking." And I go to him and he looks at the back. He's like, "What's wrong with it?" I'm like, "It's creatine." And he's like, "Okay." And that was like a conversation. I was like, oh, God. I remember I was bringing the damn bottle to school with me to hide in case they found it.
That's hilarious. So how did Fahkri change your experience? He was your first coach.
You know what? I am so grateful to have, if I didn't meet Fahkri because of my friend Mike, I probably would have never turned pro. I probably would have never competed. I wouldn't have the mindset I have with bodybuilding today. I mean, I was 15, 16 when he took me on. And I'll never forget, I walk in and we're inside the Gold Gym at Howard Beach's locker room. He goes, "All right, let me take a look at you." And I pose. And he's like, Fahkri never gave compliments to anybody, ever. And that's why people went to him. He looks at me, he goes, "Okay." He goes, "You're going to be a good pro one day." And I'm like, first of all, I'm like, try not to be too I'm like, "Really?" He goes, "You're going to be a good pro one day." And in my head, I'm like, oh my God. I was like, I went home. I told my mom picked me up. I told my mom, I told my dad, and they were like, "Okay, what the hell does that even mean?" They didn't know. But he was a very, very big influence for me, not only because with competing, the mindset to compete, being humble, how to present yourself in the industry, how to train. I mean, my mom would drive me out once a week. He would let me train with him and his training partner. He totally was the reason why I got the start I did. And then, I won that first show and he taught me a lot. Even throughout the years, he was always supportive of me. And he was the one that really got me started. And he was even there when I turned pro when I won the Eastern overall when I was 21, my first overall as the Open. And he was crying. He goes, "I told you this one day." I'm like, "No, you were right." So he was a very, very big influence on me, and I also wanted to be a coach one day because of him.
You won a pro show at
No, not a pro show. Open NPC show.
Yeah. I was shocked. Yeah, okay. Yeah. But tell us about your competition history.
So I did my first show.
You did accomplish a lot at a young age.
Yeah, no, it went a lot better than I thought it would. I was always determined. I was always focused. I had dreams to do it. Did my first show when I was 16. The Steve Stone Metropolitan won the teen A class. I was 16. I beat a 19-year-old in the teen overall, Placed fifth in the open light heavyweight. fourth in the novice light heavyweight, and they were very, very big classes back then. So I was like, all right, people like really like getting on to like what I was doing. Dave Palumbo interviewed me, which was awesome. Yeah. When I was 18, I did the Bev Francis Eastern USA, won the teen class again, won the novice light heavyweight, almost won the overall novice, and I placed fifth in the open. And that light heavyweight open class was my friend Mike was in it, Brandon Green, who was supposed to be a really good pro, Mike Yablon, Marco Rivera. That was a great class. And then I went to teen nationals when I was 19, won the heavyweight class there, lost the overall to Cody Montgomery. I think it was because I had really bad gyno.
Wow. Yeah, I remember that. But it was Cody, huh?
It was Cody, yeah. And then took a little break, got bigger, did the Eastern USA 2014 when I was 21, won the overall. And then Chad Nichols, who was my coach, said, all right, let's go to nationals. I was like, okay, I wouldn't want to do it. I was 25, 26. And I went 2 weeks later and I won the nationals.
Okay, a couple of things. So Chad was your coach? I had no idea. So what was your coaching history also? Yeah.
I've worked with a lot of the different. I tell people not to do this.
Because you want to learn. That's why, right?
That's the thing. Like, and I did learn a lot from everybody. And, I was still this young kid coming up. I'm like, oh my God, this coach is the guy that's in. This coach is the guy that's in. And it worked out because I've worked with Oscar Arden for teen nationals, George Fowler when I was 18, Fahkri when I was 16. And then Chad Nichols when I turned pro, which we're about to go into, and then Chris Cito when I did my first pro show, but we'll go into that, why that was a disaster. But yeah, I worked with Chad when I turned pro at 21.
Really? How was it? I really like Chad also.
He is not only a great guy, he was amazing throughout the whole process. I mean, I didn't expect to go to nationals that year and turn pro. I just wanted to win the Easterns and then take time off. But it was pretty cool too, especially, he came to nationals to see me in person and give me all the changes and everything. I'm hearing stories about Ronnie when I'm, up in his room, we're getting ready to go down, and Nasser and all them. It was a really, really cool. And we still talk here or there. Like, I actually reach out to him like when I need some advice.
How did you eat that much meat?
So that's
a lot of meat.
Off season, it was like 8 ounces a meal. He kept it pretty moderate for me. Pre-contest, he got like 10 ounces of fish per meal, but the carbs are very low, which pre-contest I could handle a lot of fish. But yeah, it wasn't really a lot of meat.
I thought it was more than that. Eight is a lot, though. That's still a lot.
It depends on the person with him. Like, I tried linking up with him a year and a half ago again, or a year ago, and the meat was like 12 ounces a meal.
Okay.
Yes, you see what I'm saying? And he had really stomach issues, and I'm like,
yeah,
oh boy, this isn't working out,
Yeah, which we'll talk about your stomach issues also. That's a very interesting subject because we didn't catch up on that between each other also. So, but okay. So, also you mentioned Beth Francis. Did you develop a relationship, or did you used to go to that gym in New York?
So the gym with traffic in New York was always horrible.
Okay.
So to go from Brooklyn to Bev Francis gym should have been about 45 minutes. Instead, it takes you about 2 hours, if not more, because of traffic.
Where's the gym?
Syosset, Long Island.
Oh, okay. So,
yeah. But I would go out there for video shoots, photo shoots, stuff like that. I didn't get to know Bev that well, but I got to know Steve Weinberger really well because I did all his shows. Those are the only shows I did when I was an amateur. And, he looked out, he would take a look at me, he would say, before a show, he goes, okay, good or no good. And that was it. But yeah, I didn't get to know Bev that well.
So you were telling me about the competition with Chad.
Yes.
Yeah. So how did that go?
Yeah. So we did the Easterns. That was when I was 21.
That was Eastern. Okay.
Yeah. It was, I won that. I won the overall there. And then he said, all right, let's go to nationals in 2 weeks. I said, okay. I mean, I didn't go there, to be honest, I didn't go there expecting to win. Here I am, a 21-year-old kid, and did that. And that was I actually posted my posing routine last night from it. And with that show, that so far was one of the best moments of my life so far. And the reason is, my mom, that was the last show my mom was able to be in attendance to. She went against doctor's orders. She was basically, fuck you, I'm going to see my son. And then her and my dad had to leave a day early after I won because she was starting to get really sick. And then, like I said, Chad prepped me, and then I competed in my class, you had John Meadows, Matt Porter. It was an insane class. I mean, there was like 33 people in the class.
I forgot that your mother was able to join you. That's a great outcome.
No, that was because she was very, very supportive of me. I mean, she loved to see me compete. She always wanted me to compete more, but she didn't understand that, it's not really the most ideal thing to do. But yeah, she was there, and that was the last show for her.
You competed against John Meadows there?
Yeah, John Meadows, Matt Porter,
Not
Who
poor.
else was in that
Wow.
class?
Yeah.
That class was insane. I
How
mean,
did that go?
so I won.
Oh, you won. Wow.
That was nationals. Yeah, that was 2 weeks
Oh,
after.
that was the nationals that you won. Wow, you beat.
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. Incredible.
For me, like, so I'll tell you a quick story. I love
I
telling.
mean, I've seen pictures of it. You deserve it, I'm sure, but incredible.
I love telling the story too, because I remember that I'm backstage. You know, I'm a little nervous, but I'm not nervous. I'm like, all right, whatever. I'm not going to win. So they call us up to pump up. I'm pumping up, and right on my left, I have Michael Lockett. Right on my right, pumping up, I have Alexis Rolone. You know who Alexis Rolone is?
No, but I knew Lockett, yeah.
Freak.
Oh, really?
He hasn't competed in like 2 years, but he's a freak. And I remember, funny, Alexis was a super heavy. So I'm pumping up. I'm looking at them. I'm looking at Michael's arm like this. I'm like, what the hell am I doing here? So then all of a sudden, John Meadows walks in. The room turns totally silent. And everybody's like looking in the corner of their eye. He walks like to the little tanning booth. He pulls his pants down. As he's pulling his pants, he basically moons the room. And all you seen was these hamstrings, these veiny, rock hard hamstrings. And everybody.
There's no fat. I don't know.
Dude, I remember looking at this. I'm like, oh, screw this. I'm done pumping up. I'm like, whatever at this point. And so when we all line up, I'm the last one in line, like number 32 or 33 in the heavyweights. And we go up. You do your individuals, you come off. Eric Ramirez runs back. He goes, dude, you look sick. And I'm ahead. I'm like, all right, whatever. And then we go out, we do the call outs, and they call my name. And that was, first call out right in the middle. And I wound up winning that show. And then in the overall, I went against Alexis Rolone. And that was a close one. It was crazy to see how far he went after that. But yeah, I even almost won the overall.
How does this in the middle thing work? Like when you're a bodybuilder and they call you out, how do you judge? How are you anticipating where your position will be based on where they place you and where they move you and so on?
So basically, usually we had a lot more in the first. No, we had 5. So usually it's 5. In bigger shows, they'll make it even bigger to try to make space in the stage. So usually the guy in the middle box is going to be a winner, most likely. If I'm correct. To the right of him is second place. To the left of him, it's opposite on your thing. To the left of him is third. And then you got either fourth or fifth or vice versa. But the most important is who's in the middle and who's around him. That's your top 3.
But when they first bring people out, there's like 20 people. So how did they get 5 people?
So that's the thing. They bring out all the people. You run them through it. Then they set them all off to the side of the stage. Now you have your call-outs. So, all right, number whatever, 181, that was my number at Nationals. I was the last number called for the first call-out. They put me on the end. You had 5 guys. Again, me, John Meadows, bunch of people. And then 181 to the middle. And they put you right in the middle, and that's your slated. And then that's how they keep chopping you around. When that's done, here's your top 5. You go back in line. Here comes 5 through 10. And line them up and switch it around.
How old were you winning the Nationals against John Meadows?
I was 21.
What did that feel like finishing it? And how did people treat you also? Not just your family, but also especially the bodybuilding people.
I just got such goosebumps. I love telling the story. So, like I said, I went there with no intentions to really win. I was like, I'm just a kid. I was like, maybe I'll do it 25, 26. So when I knew after prejudging, I was slotted for either first or second. That's what I found out. It was either first or second. Top 2 was turning pro in your class. So I'm like, shit. I'm like, even if I get second, I'm happy with that. My first nationals, I turned pro. And that feeling was like, dude, it was so insane. I remember just walking around. I'm like, oh my God, I may leave here a pro. I may leave here a pro. And going to see, I'm like, Chad Nichols getting me ready for this. I'm hearing stories in the Zoom about Ronnie Coleman and Nasser. And I'm walking around. All these people are coming up to me, telling me like how great I looked and whatnot. And I'll never forget. It was me and Alan Cool is who plays second. He looked great. And I'm getting ready to go up to my final time, going up to see Chad. Now it's like, all right, I'm like, feel like I'm a boxer. I was like picturing myself as a boxer going to a fight. And I'm with my family. I say bye to them in the lobby. I go inside the elevator. I'm going up to see Chad. And Alan Cool is laying against the wall of it with his head up like this. He looks at me. He goes, dude, I'm shot. And I look at him. I'm like, yeah, I'm shot too. And in my head, I'm like, I got him. I'm like, I knew I got him. And I went up. I seen Chad. He told me some stories.
I didn't know you were Machiavellian, by the way. I had no idea you were sneaky like that. I thought you would be direct. It's good I know this now. Yeah,
I'm a very direct person, but when it comes to like
when it comes to competition, you've got your game face on.
Yeah, man. Like you're there to win, especially since I knew I could win. Like here's who I'm going up against.
That's a pumping iron move. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that. I'm looking at him, and when he walked out of that elevator, I was like, all right, I'm ready to go, because nobody was going to outpose me. I'm going to collapse in that stage before somebody outposes me. And yeah, the finals came. They rejudged us for about 6 minutes. I was almost dead. And yeah, I won the class. And that was just, that feeling was, I don't even, words don't even put into, words can't even express how great that feeling was. I mean, I worked at that since I was 15, 16 to be one of the youngest pros in history. And yeah, for a while, you know, I was on a high horse, and, you know, that high horse only lasted so long.
The thing is, I sometimes wonder if it's good for people to succeed so much at the age of 20, 21, 22. It's like, I feel like it can be overwhelming, or it can diminish someone's ambition a little bit, because I feel like in the early 20s, it's important to fail a lot. It's if you succeed too early, you don't develop sometimes the kind of discipline or resilience in terms of career failures. I don't know. I'm just talking from personal experience also. I don't know. I'm just assuming.
Well, you know, let's talk about that, because, you know, you're right in a way, because I was always a very disciplined person. You know, I lost at T Nationals overall, which I was whatever about. I was like, can't win them all. And I did my first pro show when I was 22. It was a New York Pro 2016. And Chris Aceto was doing my diet. I was training in the gym with Oscar Arden. And
the first pro show was the New York Pro?
Yep, I did it on purpose.
Oh, but why? That's too difficult.
Dude, I like to when I jump into something, it's head first. I'm gonna learn the hard way. Win, lose, or draw, I'm gonna learn, and that's gonna propel me to where I need to be to go forward. And my mom is still alive for that prep. Started the prep at 24 weeks out.
So just for the audience to know, I think that's the third most competitive show in the U.S. If you think
it is.
Yeah, it's the third, right? Yeah.
And that lineup, you had Dexter Jackson, Steve Kuklo, Ruli Winclair, John De La Rosa, Max Charles. Who else am I missing? Nathan Diasha. It was basically amazing.
I don't know why. Okay.
It was nuts. But you know what, dude? I didn't care, because I was like, I'm going there for this. This is my hometown. I have to do my hometown show. And whatever happens, happens. And actually, I think I would have done a lot better. But I started my prep 23 weeks out. Me and Aceto were like, okay, we're going to come in big. We're going to come in people. Let's start far out. 6 weeks out, I was 250, and I was damn close to where I had to be. I probably would have stepped on stage around 240, because usually I hit a weight and I stay at the whole prep. And I have these pictures, and I look back, I'm like, wow, everything couldn't have been any more perfect. And then I go to do my cardio one morning, and my dad says, you know, I think you should come to the hospital. And I'm like, why? He goes, I think you should come to the hospital. I'm like, all right. I'm thinking, well, I've been in and out of the hospital for months. I'm like, it's probably just another day. So I go home, I pack my meals, I go to the hospital. I go up to the ICU. He's like, come up to the ICU. I go up to the ICU. Open up the door, and there she is in the tubes, and they have her in a coma and everything. Basically, aspergillus built up in her lungs because they zapped her with so much chemo the month before, because she had a fever, and they killed her new bone marrow. She had a bone marrow transplant months before that. And so, yeah, I still went on with the prep. I basically lived in the hospital. Basically, I lived in a closet until they kept kicking me out. I just kept going back to it until they just stopped kicking me out. So Oscar would bring me my food to the hospital. He would train me in the city. I would go home, you know, feed my dogs, let my dogs out, and that was it. I didn't sleep at times because we didn't want to leave her alone. And, yeah, there would be time periods I was awake for 30, 35 hours at a time in the room because my dad would go home and rest. And she passed away May 3rd. It was about 2 weeks out. And at this point, my body was already like trash between the stress, the trauma, the prep. I wish I could have seen what I looked like without all that.
No, it physically just changes the body. It's impossible. Yeah.
I mean, I could show you.
Destroy your look.
You wouldn't even like, I couldn't even recognize myself compared to how I looked 6 weeks out. I looked amazing, in my opinion, and in Aceto's opinion. And yeah, I did the show, you know.
Oh, that was the one with Aceto. Okay.
Yeah. And I'm glad I did it, you know, because I remember calling my dad a week out. And I was like, listen, I don't know if I should do this. He's like, no, listen, you finish where you started. You know, your mom would want you to do it. You finish it, win, lose, or draw. And I did. And, you know, and after that, I just fell off the face of the earth and got involved with a lot of things that, you know, do I regret anything I've done? No, because everything was a learning experience. But, you know, I got involved with the motorcycle club world a lot, you know, when I started really riding, started drinking a lot.
I didn't know the motorcycle thing. We never talked about it.
I didn't really post too much about it. But yeah, so I rode, you know, I had a street bike, a Honda Grom. I rode quads, dirt bikes here or there. And then after, he was him and my mom would ride Harley all the time. So I was like, all right, I'll ride a Harley. I'll ride with my dad, because we trained together for years up until she got really sick. And then that's how it all started. And then, you know, without going into crazy detail, kind of got introduced to the motorcycle club community and became a member of a motorcycle club. Actually, I was one of the founding members of the motorcycle club. Yeah. And we were underneath the 3rd Street Hells Angels. We were sanctioned by them because that's who was in the 5 boroughs. And I was involved in that for a while. And, you know, it was more of it was a good experience. I had some great times, I have to say. You know, it was cool to get that brotherhood because, you know, after she died, I was left empty, but I was also drinking a lot. I wasn't bodybuilding. I wasn't really training. I wasn't taking care of myself. I was partying here or there, which wasn't really the greatest thing to do either. And I was basically running away from the trauma of watching her die because, you know, when you watch a woman lose her dignity, her hair, how she looks, how she feels, and it's your mother, that is enough. And then to watch her die the way she died, it still sticks in my head. And I think I was running away from all that. And, you know, people wonder why I disappeared from bodybuilding. And I had a hard time coping with that. And then 2018, I had the back surgery. And that started my a little more than a year-long bout with painkillers.
Wait, just about the death, I just wanted to say, like, a couple of notes about that. I mean, obviously, you don't need any reassurance about this, but I don't really know if I would be able to handle an experience like that. I mean, to be honest with you, I didn't grow up with parents that were as close to me as yours were to you, but I would still, you know, I don't know how I would cope with it. Even now, you know, even with the resilience that I have from an SSRI or whatever, you know, I really don't know how I would cope with that, even at my age of 33. So it's because the thing is, in reality, and I've been trying to deal with this since I was 21, I guess. The concept of death is the most difficult concept, not just others' death, our own death, is the most difficult concept we have to deal with epistemologically in our lifetimes. It's not really even the concept of consciousness. It's the concept of the loss of consciousness that is the biggest problem in our existence, you know? And the fact that we don't think about it every day, the fact that we're going to just stop existing one day, it's insane, actually. You know, if we were rational, we'd constantly be like, what the hell? We're about to die in a few years. You know, this is crazy. And so to experience also another level of it, which is, so I've noticed something. Sometimes when people age very old, like my great grandfather passed away a year and a half ago, he was 96, 97, something like that. When you get that old, you slowly degenerate over time. And you actually lose bits of you over time because your brain and everything degenerates. So when you go, sometimes it's a bit peaceful, because you sort of slowly withered away and just, you know, passed. But I feel like when you die earlier, it's an unnatural death and there's anguish in it. And to see that personally, to see that anguish, is scarring. You know, so it's a very reasonable thing that you had to find camaraderie and brotherhood, as well as, you know, some kind of outlet.
Yeah,
you know, and I'm glad you found your way back, which you completely did.
Thank you, Leo. You know, you just put it all.
I mean, I know that privately, but just because I know Dom, I know what he's like, and he's completely back, you know, and that's incredible to be able to recover. I mean, that's why I'm saying I don't know if I could do it.
Yeah, no, you know, like you put it into words, like basically watching her disintegrate. And, you know, she was 46 years old. She had a whole life to live. And I remember, like, she was up like 40 pounds from all the quarter steroids they had her on. And, you know, when the night we decided to let her go, I remember watching her all blown up. They took a chunk out of her arm to test her skin. No hair. I'm like, in my head, I'm like, oh my God. I'm like looking at this. And then, you know, watching her pass, I think, yeah, that was the hardest, because she should have passed away. I'll get into detail. You know, she should have passed away in a few minutes. She was in the coma, and we couldn't wake her up and say, listen, your kidneys are gone. Your kidneys have failed. You're going to die in a couple of days. So we decided, you know what? There was no chance of her coming back. Everything, lungs were filled with water, and the aspergillus, kidneys completely failed. Everything was just going.
These damn kidneys, you know, they fail each time whenever they begin the chemotherapy. I mean, this is the crazy thing. It's like if you survive the chemotherapy, your kidneys are gone anyway. So they fail immediately. It's so troubling.
Yeah, so basically her kidneys went because of septic shock.
Because of interesting. Okay.
Yes, because the aspergillus, which everybody has in their lungs, built up, and she had no immune system. So her body was basically attacking itself. Her bone marrow was fried from the chemo. She got a bone marrow transplant, and it needed time to build up, and they fried her with chemotherapy. And any chance of she had no chance of living. So, I remember we looked at each other. So I guess it's, obviously it was way more detailed than this. It was time to let her go because we can't wake her up and you're going to die and you have no kidneys and you can't do that. And she's supposed to pass away in a few minutes. And she wound up lasting like 40, 45 minutes. And that was the most brutal thing I've ever had to witness in my life. And like you watch somebody that young, that's your mother, basically you feel their soul leaving their body. It's like, whew, that was like,
I heard that it's never like a gentle way.
No, it wasn't.
No, it's painful and you can see it. It's not pleasant.
That's the thing. It was like you seen it. Even though she was on all these sedatives and the anesthesia and, she was supposed to just fall asleep, she didn't just like pass away by any means. It was very noticeable. So even like now when I go into hospitals and I'll hear certain, like if I hear a ventilator, that puffing sound or like the beeps, it makes me think back to that moment and I get these flashes, which I've gotten a lot better with it. But yeah, definitely.
Do you get panic attacks when that happens, by the way? Do you ever get a panic attack when you get those flashes?
So I was for a while, like it would get like, but I would realize it. I'll be, okay, I know what it is. Like I would start like, oh my God, like even when I got my back surgery 2018, that was like my first time going under. And, before she died, she told my dad, she goes, I'm not going to wake up. He goes, don't say that. And in my head, when they told me they were going to put me in a tube in my mouth, I'm like, oh my God. I was like, do you have to put the tube in my mouth? And they were like, no, you have to go to sleep for this surgery. And I remember they rolled me down the hallway. My dad's walking beside the bed. I'm about to go in. He starts crying. In my head, I'm like, holy fuck. I'm like, I like freaked out. And then they bring me in the room. Thank God they were really nice. Seen all the operating tools and stuff. And I'm like freaking out. I'm like, listen, I don't feel good. I don't feel good. She, listen, calm down. We'll make you feel good in a second. And they put that mask with the, I guess the anesthesia, whatever it was. And then I felt like amazing. I was like, okay, I can deal with this. Like, yeah, no, just relax. You'll be okay. And I fell asleep and then I woke up. But yeah, it was definitely life-changing to witness that.
Because that's another topic also, which I was going to get to, which is that you had this back problem. So you're so gifted in bodybuilding, you lose your mother, and your body is giving up on you at the same time at this young age. So what's the history with the backstory?
I never had an injury ever, and I trained very heavy and very hard. Basically, after she died, I was training on and off. I wasn't taking care of myself. 2018, I was going to try to train. That's when my coaching went full time. So sitting at a desk all day. So basically, I believe from sitting all day, losing all that muscle tissue, nothing was supporting my spine. So nothing really even triggered the back issue. It just started hurting. And then it got worse day by day. And then I got to the point where I couldn't move and I was screaming. And my ex-girlfriend had to pick me up off the floor, try to. And then I'm eating painkillers. And then like a week and a half, 2 weeks into the painkillers, my dad's like, I think you should go get an MRI. Like, this isn't going to go away if you're just eating these pills. And I was like, you're right. And I got the MRI. It was 3 herniations, 2 were bulging, and I had severe stenosis. And I had no choice but surgery because the nerves were being cut off. And yeah, I got that surgery August 6, 2018.
Wow. So what was the surgery? Did they compress the spine?
They decompress the spine. Yeah. So I was eligible to be fused, but the doctor was like, you're way too young to be fused. He goes, I can't do this. He goes, let's see how this does. And it worked. So now if I don't train, I feel the compression. I also got to be careful in the gym, but it was the decompression, triple laminectomy and discectomy.
Yeah, I remember when we spoke about it. So, by the way, how is your training now? I know you got back into training. Can you lift heavy weights with the?
Oh yeah, so that's the thing. So I was on the painkillers for a little over a year. August 3rd, 2019, I said, you know what, fuck this. I got to get back in the gym. I got to get back into bodybuilding. And I tapered myself off, which that was a whole nother ordeal. And I got back into training, and my back felt pretty good. The doctor even said, he was like, listen, your back's not perfect. He goes, but I need you to be in the gym. Just be careful. He goes, you need to strengthen those muscles. You need to build those muscles, or you're going to be screwed. So now, my training is the best it's been since 2016. I still got a ways to go to build it up, but I'm training heavy. I got to be careful with anything that compresses the spine. And I feel great. I have no back issues whatsoever.
So that's an interesting subject, like getting the back to be strong. I've been thinking about that myself recently because I've been sitting a lot because I do a lot of researching now. And I feel like my spine is also compressing because I haven't been going to the gym, so I have a weak core. But I've been thinking, how can I work out my core in a way that I'm not spinal loading? So is mostly what you're doing for your back, like rowing stuff, and then you're doing core work?
So
You're not
that's
doing
the
spinal
thing.
load, squatting, good mornings. You're not doing that stuff?
That's the thing. Even if I train, like you got to keep moving. So like when sitting, your hips begin to tilt. You get a pelvic tilt. That's a fact. That puts your back, your lower spine into a weird place. So here you are also compressing your spine. Your hips are tilting. They begin to stay like that. So your body basically, I never had any problems. Now I feel like I'm like 50 years old getting something.
Me too. My hip is just stuck in this weird position.
Yeah. I remember my ex-girlfriend like, wow, you're getting old, kid. And I was 20, 26, 25, 26. She's like, wow, you're getting old. And, but no, the thing is, you just got to keep moving. Like, that's why I was told to get a standing desk. You want to stay standing. You want to keep your hips moving. In the gym, I do squat. I'm very careful with the barbell squats. It's just all a matter of keeping the erectors and the core strengthened and the hips moving. And then I believe that will take away a lot of the tension.
Yeah, I started even stretching again. The stretching made a huge difference.
I wish I was doing that.
The stretching, you have to find something that, like, listen to a podcast or do something productive where you don't feel like you're wasting time, because that's the problem. If you feel like you're wasting time for 15 minutes every morning, you're never going to keep doing it. That's why I wasn't doing it. But I wanted to mention also, feeling like you're getting old young. I feel that way too. Like when I hit 30, I felt like I should feel this way when I'm 40. And I feel like, now a lot of the audience will comment that I have white hair, which is true. And it is unusual, but that's genetic. That's sort of my mother's side all have white hair when they're 30. But I did actually age quickly. And I thought maybe it would be useful to talk about why that could have happened to me and you. Why we may be feeling more pain, particularly us. So for example, two things may be going on, right? One is just having a lot of damage, like a lot of antigens in your life that are causing insult to your body. So for example, in your case, growing up with construction, you may have inhaled a lot of things. You may have in bodybuilding, you eat a lot of food. All that food causes oxidative stress, and your metabolism is higher. So you cause a little bit of damage to your cells over time. These damaged cells end up with likelihood to die, or if they don't die, they don't function very well. In addition to that, we use growth hormone. So that growth hormone caused our cells to divide quicker. Now the thing is this, we have a limited amount of stem cells in our body. And not only that, but each cell can only divide about 40 times before it either has to die or become this thing called like a zombie cell. It's called a senescent cell. The zombie cell, it like causes inflammation in the body, and it tracks inflammatory cytokines, but doesn't function well. My theory is that a lot of us that weightlifted a lot, ate a lot of protein for 10 years, like I ate a lot of protein for 10 years, even when I wasn't weightlifting, I just got used to it. So I did all that kind of stuff. And in my case, I was like smoking cigarettes for 15 years, doing all kinds of bad stuff. But doing all of that, we basically got a lot of damage and a lot of cells divided, and then a lot of them turned senescent. Because that's the thing. If you look at studies recently, they've recently came up with these drugs called Senolytics. Senolytics, what they do is you can inject this drug into a person, and it'll kill specifically only the senescent cells. And what they found is that in old people, if they inject Senolytics into their knees, old people with arthritis with no cartilage, like they're suffering in pain, can't walk properly. If they inject the Senolytic, the person still has no cartilage, but doesn't have pain there.
Huh.
So it seems a lot of the pain is coming from these senescent cells that are attracting inflammation there. So a lot of that hip pain and all that kind of stuff may not just be our damage to our joints, but also the fact that we have senescent cells.
That's a great point, because you know about the stomach issues that I had. And
tell us about that.
So basically, I always looked older, even before I started taking steroids. I mean, I was going to clubs with my older friends at 16 that were 20, I had an ID that looked like me. I always looked older. And it's funny you mentioned the breathing stuff on the job sites, which I always, all the urethanes and the concrete mix and everything my whole life. But I've always looked older. And then you start taking anabolic steroids and growth hormone, that doesn't help. Let's just be honest. So I've kind of like learned to just deal with it. But with the stomach issue, I noticed over the past, so I got back in the gym August 2019. I started getting weird stomach pains October 2009. I ignored it. Distension, problems with my bowel movements, my pumps were weird. I just kept ignoring it. And this went on for a while. And then last June, it really got bad. Like, I'm like, okay, something's really up here. And I kind of just still ignored it. And I noticed I looked a lot older. My face was like blown up. All under my eyes was like baggy. It was just, my forehead was extra wrinkly. I looked really aged. And I'm like, all right, maybe it's the steroids. I'm like, but how? And then up until 10 weeks ago, I'm like, all right, I have to do something. I'm not progressing in the gym. I feel sick all the time. I'm antisocial. I'm depressed. Nothing would give me energy, nothing. And I still had these stomach issues. So Flex Lewis, who's a good friend of mine, gave me his gut specialist. And, I came off all the steroids, everything. Cleaned up the diet, no cheat meal. I had my first cheat meal this week in 10 weeks. And we cleaned up the diet, added more nutritious foods, romaine lettuce, because I wasn't having any veggies, purple sweet potato, white potato, sweet potato, organic raspberries, a lot more nutritious food, healthy fats, avocados, macnut oil, olive oil, protein variety. So we're switching up the proteins a lot, bison, steak, eggs. I was having salmon. Now I'm having like even some lean pork because I can't eat a lot of chicken or turkey right now because my histamine levels are high. Anyways, long story short, I was having severe leaky gut. So basically nutrients and things were leaking into my bloodstream and basically becoming poisonous. And it was attacking the mitochondria of my cell. And 4 weeks ago, I had the testing done, a stool, urine, and blood genova test for him. We got it done. And everything came up pretty damn good. My stomach's just about good. The histamine was a little high from the amount of turkey I was eating. My glycine was low, which, we added collagen for that. My arginine, proline, and ornithine was low, but that's because the glycine was low. So when your glycine lowers, your body begins to pull out from other aminos to make up for the glycine. There was also a breakdown of my cell mitochondria. Like, it actually illustrates it. It's very cool. And it shows carbs, fats, proteins, goes through the process. If there's anything inhibiting the process. Here's the crazy part. My mercury was 5 times over the limit of normal.
Yeah, there's a lot of people like that. It's shocking. Yeah, people underestimate that, huh?
Oh, I would have kept eating. I was eating a lot of tuna last year, a lot of sushi, and it actually shows at 4 points in the mitochondria where it's inhibiting. So here I was wondering why I'm not really growing, why I'm not really feeling well. So my body, my cells are being attacked by this mercury on top of my stomach issues.
So did you see my video on mercury by any chance? There's an interesting thing I discovered about mercury. I mean, not discovered. I mean, apparently it's well known in cardiovascular disease, but I guess us in the fitness industry, we don't know about it. So mercury, the main danger of it isn't really that you eat so much mercury and you end up with mercury toxicity, where there's so much. It's not that. What happened to that famous bodybuilder with the beard?
Jason.
Yeah, what happened to him? That isn't the major concern because that's rare, right? But the concern is this: having elevated mercury levels like you did, like 5 times normal, that dramatically increases your risk of cardiovascular disease. The question is, that's interesting. So that's of heart attacks and stuff like that. So that's where it becomes dangerous. But the question is whether eating the fish, compared to people who don't take much omega-3s, whether eating the fish, the omega-3s outweigh the risk for cardiovascular disease of the mercury, and it seems to. Okay. But ideally you would not take the mercury and you would take omega-3s, obviously, I assume, right? But so there's a few more. So I have a bunch of questions on the subject. So what was the reason, do you think, for the leaky gut?
Oh, so I think it all started with me taking the pain pills and not training. So for years of not eating well, going from a person that ate well, of course I enjoyed food too, and then going to eating complete crap, not training, and then add in the opiates into the mix, which slow down the motility of your stomach. I definitely think that had a big impact in it, because here I was, not really using the bathroom as much, not training. My body built up to very toxic and highly inflamed. And I think that really damaged the stomach. And then, when I got back on bodybuilding food, I was adding in bagels, high gluten foods, still eating crap. So here I was going from eating low amount of food, but like Burger King and junk and opiates, to eating a large amount of food that was filled with high protein, high gluten, high inflammatory foods. And that's basically what caused it, because then it got to a point where every time I would eat, my stomach was like out to here, especially when I had gluten and dairy.
The interesting thing, though, I wanted to ask you, do you notice that there's an unusual amount of, let's say, steroid users that develop gut issues?
So that's another thing too. Yeah. So I didn't really think that that could happen, but I know I've seen a recent video or a post you did a few weeks ago on gut health and steroids, I think from high androgens or anabolics. I do know androgens for a fact, things like Tren, 19-NORs can affect the gut microbiome. And that's what I noticed too. So here you have, oral steroids, 19-NORs, androgens that are affecting how the stomach is functioning. Then add in a high amount of food and inflammatory food, and it's a recipe for the perfect disaster.
So it's also a little bit more than that. So let's talk about two levels of it. One is that stress, specifically adrenaline, changes the function and composition of the microbiome. In a way, if you're in a sustained stressful state, it causes dysbiosis in the microbiome. Mm-hmm. So I believe that's how, but I'm not completely sure, but I think that's mainly how Tren does that, because you're in that constantly hypervigilant state for like a month straight or whatever.
True. Yeah,
I think so. State. But there's also a second level of it, which is what I wanted to talk to you about. So I see that you're really focused on the gut microbiome or the gut health, which is brilliant, obviously. But so obviously I've focused on that too because I have Crohn's disease, so I have to do that too. And obviously most people who have gut issues focus on that. The difference in the way I approach it personally is that I realize that normal people don't get these issues.
They don't.
They go and eat that stuff and they don't get these issues. So one level of it is this. Now, there are genetic polymorphisms that affect which bacteria you have in your microbiome, how populous it is, what variety it is, all of that. But also, there is a group of genetic polymorphisms that make certain people more susceptible to immune dysfunction. Mm-hmm. And all of these autoimmune diseases, they sort of group together. If you have one, you're more likely to get another. So for example, me, I have Crohn's disease. Well, listen, when I got COVID, my shoulder hurt. I get arthritis really easily. Or for example, if I don't treat myself well, I'll get psoriasis. I'll start to notice skin flaking. I don't know if you have any of these kind of skin conditions or other thing.
My back broke out really bad last year. I got waxed and I kind of had it was an infection of the hair follicle. Anyways, it didn't go away for like 8 months, and now I have scarring on my back because of it.
That could have been just an infection. But for example, let me give another example of an autoimmune condition. When oftentimes people who have gut issues end up with anxiety, there is separately an inflammatory hypothesis of anxiety, because inflammatory cytokines can also cause anxiety. So that itself can be an autoimmune condition. Some people don't have gut issues, don't have arthritis, but have anxiety, and I believe it's mainly due to inflammation in their body. But a lot of that's like low-level systemic inflammation, which can be seen in C-reactive protein or something, goes through the blood-brain barrier and attacks your brain, so you end up with anxiety. But there's so many other kind of autoimmune issues. So I don't know, maybe you truly had just so much dysbiosis that, because what happens, right? Obviously, you know this, but just for the audience, the theory is that the microbiome either has pathologic bacteria or it has normal bacteria that's not being fed. The bacteria gets hungry, doesn't have fiber and all that, starts basically attacking the mucosal layer on the outside and the interior of the intestine. And as they attack, they bite, they literally are trying to eat your intestine. So they're eating the mucus. And as they eat the mucus, at some point, the idea of leaky gut is that they actually bit through the intestine. And you end up with a hole to some degree, and something gets through, and bacteria gets out of your gut and into your abdominal cavity. Now, that level is pretty rare, but what can often happen to people, like what happened to me, is that it'll bite through there, and then my body senses that it's biting through. So my what's called the host defense system, which is your body's the thing that deals with viruses and bacteria and protects you from your exterior environment, will send these soldiers of the immune system called inflammatory cytokines to go protect me from that bacteria that's trying to get me. So they then attack the intestines from the outside. And then this causes inflammation in the gut, and that's what causes Crohn's disease, for example, colitis. When it happens in the colon, that's colitis. When it happens in the rest of the gut, that's Crohn's disease. And IBS is just sort of a general category to describe the two of words. So you had some form of these, by the way. I don't know which one it was, but you had some form of that. It may not have been
100%, yeah, because I had, the runny nose, the infection on my back that wouldn't heal, even with antibiotics. Sick all the time, looking really, just the fatigue was just beyond anything I've ever experienced. Like I said, I feel great now, but I was destined for some sort of autoimmune or some sort of disease if I kept going that way, because it was really bad.
Also, I didn't mention, sorry, I forgot to mention. So the autoimmune conditions, they usually start in a person's life when they're stressed and they make a change. So it's seen in all the research, like oftentimes a life stressor. So something, you had a bunch of life stressors, for God's sake, a bunch in a row, and then some change would be the perfect moment if you have a predisposition toward autoimmune conditions for it to start. But I'm glad it all got so much better with the food. Now, what were you supplementing to make with your coach? For your,
I mean, I don't even know some of the products
so many
offhand.
things,
There's a
huh?
whole list.
But how many different kinds of probiotics do you take? Did you check out seed, by the way, also?
What is it?
Seed. I told you about it, I think. Seed. I told you about inulin, seed, tributyrin.
Yes, I did that night. We were actually
Yeah.
talking about it back and forth. I didn't add in anything because I didn't even speak to him about it yet.
You check, yeah.
But I was taking the True Bifido probiotic. I believe it's 3 or 4 strains. I can't even name them off the top of my head.
No, they're so hard I can't name them either.
Yeah.
I don't know why they name things like that. Like, what is this word? Rhabdococcus, it's
Exactly. How did they even come up with this? Like, why even name? Why can't you just name it like?
Why would it be Bacteroidetes or whatever that is? Where did you come up with this stuff? You know, there are people out there making up words, like scientists. They're like, oh, let me make up a word.
Where does it even come from? But from a medical grade enzyme company, one called Theraxum, Euthism.
Yeah, enzymes are quite valuable, actually. I found out, you know, they really affect the microbiome character, actually.
Yes, a lot of enzymic formulas I was taking. 2 different forms of digestive enzymes, Digestzymes by Designs for Health and Digest ZYM by US Enzyme Company. Melatonin at night. What else was I taking? A whole Megaval by Designs for, these are all medical grade companies. Metabolic Synergy, which is basically blood sugar control, vitamin Bs, such and so forth. And that is really it. And all the timing really depended on everything. So now we're about to go into a detox protocol for 30, 45 days for the mercury, which has a whole bunch of products I have to take.
Oh, I'd love you to let me know what you're taking.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know if you can, but I'd love to know what chelating agents. Yeah,
I'll share it with you off camera.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be doing the chelating protocol, other detox, phase 1, phase 2 with the liver, all that stuff, along with doing the infrared sauna for like 30, 45 days to really get that mercury out, because we feel it's inhibiting the mitochondria as much as it showed. Because, you know, I should be growing a lot more in and now. My pumps aren't the same yet.
Have you done an oral glucose tolerance test?
No, I haven't, but I believe
not related to the microbiome. I just wanted to mention, like, if you feel like you're not growing, I feel like I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm not a bodybuilder, but I feel like the first thing I would do personally, because unless you have a Dexcom on you, and even if you do, you only know your glucose. You don't really know your insulin. When you go in to do your tests every month or whatever at the clinic, they test your serum insulin, but that's at a random time. There's a test called the OGTT. You go to your doctor, and what they do is they'll give you a specific amount of glucose, and then they'll test your serum or urine, cortisol and insulin and glucose at regular intervals after the challenge to see if your insulin overshoots your glucose. So basically, you can know if you're pre-diabetic. Whereas otherwise, you can only know if you're actually failing, you're diabetic. But before someone actually gets higher glucose levels, 10 years before, they start getting insulin resistant. And you can see that on an oral glucose tolerance 10 years before. So you could, so that's the major issue with, if you're not growing, like the reason why 40, 50-year-olds have issues with their legs is the first place you become insulin resistant is around your thighs. So that's where it starts to go first. So if you feel an issue with growing, I think that maybe the first thing people should diagnose to check, okay, I'm not insulin resistant, so it's something else.
That's a good way to look at it. Well, we definitely know it's from the leaky gut. I was basically malnourished from not absorbing anything. Now, added mercury toxicity, but I do test my blood glucose a few times during the week. My HbA1c was always good. The insulin, but that is an interesting test here, because the blood work can only show only so much serum insulin and glucose, but that's an interesting test that I would like to do just to see.
Yeah, it's good. It's good we brought it up, actually, just so other people can know about it, because it should be popularized. Like, let's bring up a couple other things. I think most bodybuilders should probably, instead of just doing their creatinine, they should always ask for their cystatin C and apparently SDMA, so symmetric dimethyl arginine, which I always check asymmetric and symmetric dimethylarginine, which is ADMA and SDMA, to get an idea of it's sort of a biomarker for cardiovascular health in the blood vessels and stuff like that. But I didn't know that SDMA is a very good proxy for kidney health that does not get affected by protein consumption or the amount of muscle mass you have.
Yeah, I'm curious of that myself because my arginine levels are really low on the blood work I just did, the genova test. Ornithine, arginine, citrulline. So my nitric oxide levels are very low. But my blood pressure is fine, which is weird. Because usually when your nitric oxide is low, your blood pressure goes up.
How do you know your nitric oxide is low? Just because your arginine is low?
Arginine, ornithine. You could be
converting more arginine into nitric oxide. You might have higher endothelial nitric oxide synthase. So you're just converting more.
Yeah, maybe. But
unless you have high blood pressure, you don't know that you have,
That's the thing is my blood pressure is fine. It's always great. All my blood work on my kidneys, my creatinine is always in range. My EGFR is always, lowest it's been is 75. I mean, sometimes it goes up as high as 110.
Mine was 60 at some point, by the way.
I swear. I never gone below 75. I even test things on cycle.
Amazing.
My kidneys were always,
Thank God.
Pretty good, thank God.
Mine was actually 6. I was looking at some old tests. It was 65 or something. It was an aberration. I don't know what was going on, but but the creatinine was one. What was your creatinine though? What's your creatinine? The max?
Always within range. So I believe top end of the labs I've been doing was 1.2. The highest I've seen it is like just under that.
Okay.
Back in October, it was 0.9.
Oh yeah, that's where I'm at now. But I used to be at 1.2.
That's when my EGFR was almost 110, and I was on cycle, and I was 265 bloated.
Yeah. Oh, also, let's bring up another biomarker, which is C-reactive protein. They should always, at least these, maybe SDMA, not necessarily, but like for sure C-statin C, C-reactive protein. I think they should always be in the...
I have all my clients run their C-reactive protein every single time, and mine is always as low as can be. I've never seen that elevated.
Oh, that's a great sign. Wow. That means your inflammation was not that systemic. By the way, let me give you an example. In colitis, 60% of the people have elevated C-reactive protein, judged by over, I think, 1.0, not over 0.3. 0.3. But in Crohn's disease, over 90% do. So I had almost, even now, if I slip at all, my C-reactive protein will elevate. Like if I do anything wrong. So I always have to be careful. I'm so prone to autoimmune conditions, but it's a good sign that you're not, but it's also calls into question the theory that you had leaky gut. You can't have leaky gut and not elevated C-reactive protein. It was not then technically leaky gut. It could have been what I had. But leaky gut, like it gets into your abdomen, that's bacteria in your abdomen, you're going to get systemic inflammation as if you had a virus. So you're going to have a C-reactive protein of at least like 3 or 2 or something like that.
Yeah, maybe it could have been.
I'm just assuming, yeah.
Maybe, I was also taking a lot of curcumin, but then again, too, you're right. It still would have went on curcumin. I was doing weekly IV treatments of glutathione and that was everywhere. The amount of money I spent over the last year on stupid IV treatments, it obviously helped somewhat, I guess, but
it's not. I don't think it's completely stupid. It's just slightly risky. And I've been thinking. I'm debating myself. So what have you been doing? What have you been taking? And by the way, so wait, before we talk about this, has it been since you moved to Vegas?
Well, what do you mean since I moved?
Because I feel in Vegas in the West Coast, there's a lot of IV clinics.
So I've never seen an IV clinic in New York. As soon as I moved here, I'm like, yes, they are everywhere.
I know.
So when I first moved here, I was doing like one every week, and I'm all right, it's a little expensive. I started going every other week, and then when my stomach got bad, I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna go once a week, and the next thing I'm going like twice a week. I felt great. I did it. It gave me a ton of energy. My skin looked a little better. I felt pretty good. It only lasted so long, but I think maybe that helped me out a little bit too, because the vitamins and minerals, the glutathione. Sometimes I would do high dose vitamin C. Anywhere between 5,000 to 30,000 milligrams. That's anywhere between 5,000 to 30,000 milligrams of vitamin C IV.
Oh, IV. Wow. That's a lot. Okay, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Milligrams, not grams. Okay.
Milligrams, yes. Okay. So, it is still a lot. It's still 30
grams. Well, that's
still 30 grams. They have some cancer patients go up to 200 grams.
Yeah.
Or 200 grams intravenously for tumor cells. It actually shrinks tumor cells.
Yeah, but the okay, so this is the idea behind my thinking right now about this. So before I used to be very against the idea of using these too many free radical scavengers because I was afraid. The concern is this, right? Your body, again, this goes back to your immune system, the host defense system. It needs to get signals of oxidative stress to know that it should send out these soldiers to go neutralize the oxidative stress in your body. So it needs to know that things are getting damaged. And sometimes it needs to go kill those cells. If you have too many free radical scavengers in your body, or too much glutathione, you neutralize all the oxidative stress. Your body could potentially not recognize that a cell has been damaged and mutated and needs to be killed. So basically, your host defense system isn't just there to protect you from viruses and bacteria. It's also what is your vigilance system for cancers. So the way cancers develop is something mutates at some point and you don't notice it. You didn't kill it. And it stayed and it grew and you still didn't notice it and didn't kill it. It's because your immune system is messed up.
Yeah, it could have been what I was doing is when that, I was doing IVs a lot. I slowed down. I do them like once a month now.
So the concern is that, but then there's another side of it, right? When the damage comes with oxidative stress, if you don't have enough free radical scavengers, you get damage in your cells and you don't necessarily kill all your cells. And you don't want all your cells to die. So, and there's tremendous improvements in quality of life if you do IV, if you do it like 3 times a week, you feel better, all of that. If you have an immune condition or something like that, but basically it could make you more likely to get cancers. Probably protect you from heart disease, protect you from immune conditions, stuff like that. But you didn't tell us about the move. So that's one of the things I wanted to ask you about. So what is it like moving from New York? And which, by the way, I've been thinking even about moving to New York sometimes. I think of it like, it's too much, but it feels like it would be such an awesome experience. I don't know. It's different growing up there, I'm sure. But
yeah.
I lived in London for 2 years. So I guess that's one of the major cities in the world. And I grew up in Dubai, which is now sort of a major city.
Yeah, I would not compare any of them to New York. Those are nice places to live. They have their own culture. New York is a cesspool. It was great growing up, but I tell people, they're like, I'd love to go to New York. I'm like, yes, go visit, but don't live there. Basically, cost of living there is astronomical for no reason. You do not get what you pay for, not even close. The people there are very miserable, very negative. The weather there is horrible. So if you don't, it's weird. We've gotten more rain the last few years than anything. So if you like rain and snow, you go to New York. If you like potholes and ruining the tires on your car, you go to New York. Like I said, if you like throwing away your money, you go to New York. It's just, and traffic. I know you're very familiar with traffic being in LA. Yeah. But, if I were you and I was going to move, I am not going to New York. I mean, you're just trading one for another.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, well, the prices are almost the same between like San Francisco, LA, and New York. So I was like, I think you get more there. But the reason why I was thinking that is because London is actually an amazing city. It's unbelievable. I didn't think I'd want to live in such an intense city, but when I lived in London, it's and I assume it's really different than New York, but maybe the people are very cosmopolitan. They're from all around Europe. So you meet people from different countries and it's very clean, very safe. There's always something going on at every time of the day. You never feel, alone. So it was exciting in a way, but then they didn't have that moodiness that New York is known for and the rudeness. It's not dirty at all, central London. So I don't know. I think New York used to be dirty. I don't know if it's still.
No, it's dirtier now. It's dirtier now with more rude people. Like I tell people, go to visit. Don't take people like, I'm going to take the subway for the experience. I'm like, sure. If you like seeing a homeless man jerk off on a train, that's what goes on. Like it's just not like. I mean, do I miss it? The only thing I miss is the feeling of Manhattan. You go out on a date, you go to dinner in Manhattan. And, you got the skyline and all that, all my favorite restaurants. But now it's just, I needed to get out of there. I needed to get away from all the distractions. I wanted to get back into competing. And that's why I came to Vegas. I came here searching for the camaraderie in the bodybuilding community that I didn't have for a while. And unfortunately, I moved here. It wasn't like it was years ago. But it actually worked out because back in October, I was getting ready to leave here. I was like, you know what? I don't know too many people here. The bodybuilding scene is getting crazy. I'm like, maybe I'll go to Florida. I know a lot of people in Florida. And I hit up Flex Lewis, say, hey, dude, how you like Boca? I may come down. He goes, well, you're not going anywhere. I'm like, why? He's like, well, no, me and Ali are coming up there, dude. I'm like, wait, what? He's like, yeah, and we're opening a gym. I'm like, wait, what? So thank God he did. And then, a month later, my good friend Jason moved here, who, we train together every day. And now you got all these people that I know moving here for the gym. It's the coolest thing. So not only do we have probably one of the best gyms in the United States, if not the world, now the community in that gym is what I was searching for. Mm-hmm. Like tight knit, everybody supports one another. There's no egos. If anybody has an ego, they get kicked out. But yeah, no, now I'm super happy I moved here. The cost of living's low. The people I'm not a fan of though, because they're not direct and they don't handle confrontation well. What are you going to say?
Yeah, I have so many questions about that. Wait, I wanted to say one thing. You were talking about the homeless people jacking off in New York. Since living in LA, I've seen so many homeless people jacking off. I just wanted to comment on that. Like, if you live in these cities in America, you actually see homeless people jacking off all the time. Like, you walk down the street, and I used to live in downtown LA, and I've seen all kinds of stuff, like people sleeping, and you're just walking by, you see the guy sleeping, suddenly you start jacking off. You're like, what's going on? It's 3 p.m. I'm walking with my wife. What's going on the side of the road? Anyway, that's one thing. The second thing is, did you ever used to come to LA when you were first living in Las Vegas and you didn't know many people there? Why did you come to LA?
So
you didn't tell me this when you talked to me. You should have come visited me here.
So I've only been here for a year now. So you had COVID, so everything there was shut. I originally was going to move to Huntington Beach. And then last minute, I was like, wait, it's really expensive there. I'm going from New York to there. We got the homeless people shitting outside the apartment building, which it was a nice apartment building right off. It was just a mix of things. So I was like, I'm going to go to Vegas. Jay Cutler went there. I know some people there. And I came here. And but yeah, no, I haven't been to LA yet just because it's been shut. Now things are starting to open up. So I may come to visit in the near future for sure.
Yeah, they are starting to open up a bit now, but it's a little bit. LA has been a bit weird for the last year and a half, though. Honestly, I don't want you to judge LA based on how it looks now, because it's sort of war torn. It looks like Beirut a little bit.
Well, that's what it reminded me of when I went there for the first time October 2019, and when I was there, I'm like, you know what? It's time for me to leave New York. Like, I need to really get full blown back into bodybuilding. And I was like, LA was nice, like it was better than New York, but I noticed it was very run down.
Have you ever been to San Diego?
Never. Actually, my good friend Jason, who lives here now, is from San Diego.
San Diego is a lovely, idyllic kind of place. Very nice.
That's what he said, yeah.
And Huntington Beach, you're right. There's homeless there also. It's an interesting beach. There's it has its own homeless community within Orange County. But I live in Orange County too. I live in a city where Sean Ray lives called Irvine. Okay. Irvine has no homeless. And apparently it's the safest city in the US 14 years in a row or whatever. It's so safe that I originally was trying to run out of LA. And I almost wanted to, now I'm starting to think this place is so safe. It's like the perfect place to raise kids. Apparently it has great schools also. It's just really boring. And then once you leave here, if you go to LA is hectic a little bit. But San Diego is awesome. And we're equidistant from San Diego and LA. But we were thinking actually originally, so we're really considering Texas, Las Vegas. Originally we were considering Las Vegas a lot, and now we're looking at Texas and Colorado. But we were thinking of Vegas, and the reason why we sort of moved away from it was because we heard that the people, just like you're saying, are not the people, but it's a scummy environment, sort of.
Yeah. So
I don't know how to say it. It's scummy.
No, it's true. That was one of the reasons why I was going to leave. And I knew,
wait, so it's true. Tell me what the deal is. Yeah.
So here's the thing. Anywhere you go, you're going to find scummy people. But Vegas has a very large abundance of them. When you put hookers, drugs, and gambling into a city, you're bound to get scumbags. It is what it is. It all sounds fun, but partying and all this stuff. But, so I kept meeting these people. I'm like, these are not, I didn't move to be around these type of people. And then Flex even said, he goes, you know what, dude, it's who you surround yourself with. He goes, would you really think I would want to bring my daughter to live there? Well, that's my dogs. I'm sorry.
No, don't worry. I got
nice.
The audience is used to it. My dog's always going crazy. Don't worry about it.
But you know what? See, I actually live in Henderson, right outside Vegas. So 20, 30 minutes from the Strip. Okay. There is a lot of great air. Summerlin is really nice. Southern Highlands is really nice. Henderson. In actual Las Vegas, there isn't really too many.
We were looking at those Summerlin and Henderson. That's what we were looking at. So I was wondering, if you hang out there, are the people you meet more normal kind of people?
Yes, so that's the thing. It depends on who you surround yourself with, but yes, for sure. Even the people you meet in the supermarket and the people you see linger around, they're much less scummy people than other parts, because then those areas are just not where you really want to be around. And some of these areas have great schools as well. And with great schools comes a great community, great place to live.
I've heard that. So now you've already started at Flex's gym. You guys started working out. It's open, or what's?
Oh yeah, no, it officially opened March 8th.
How did he move it that fast?
I seen it.
Yeah. Well,
I seen it as an empty shell in October or November, whatever it was. Whenever he did it was early November. It was just a box, a warehouse with a wall, and yeah, he basically told the workers he wants to open by February 1st, and he almost made February 1st, but yeah, March 8th. It was completed a week before March 8th.
so for him, is this sort of like his gym is like a passion project, right? It's not like a business sort of. It's more like his thing.
Well, it's both. It's both. It's their
Oh,
it's their passion, him and his wife's passion, but it's also a business move too, because the Dragon's Lair gym they had in Boca was a private gym. That wasn't really a business per se. It was more so for his training
Yeah,
to
that's
get
what I
to the
heard.
next level with the Olympia, bring guys in, and but this one's actually open to the public. There's limited memberships, but it's open to the public.
So, how did you meet him in the first place? How did you guys become friends before then?
So I had my first sponsor at 18 with Gaspari Nutrition, and that's when he was with Gaspari. And I was flown out to my first Arnold before when I was 19, my first Arnold Classic, and that's where I met him. And he always looked out for me from a distance. You know, if he see me out partying Instagram, he'd be like, "Hey, dude, why don't you just be careful who you surround yourself with?" And he was there when I won my pro card, he's always watched out for me for a distance. And now he's really been, ever since I reached out, he can tell I was sort of like distressed being here and a little bit lost. And we've gotten a lot closer than we were in the past. He's a very, very, in this industry, it's hard to find genuine, good-hearted people that actually care for others. He's one of them.
That's actually literally one of the questions I had written for you was, who are the most ethical and like stand-up kind of people in the industry? That's really interesting.
He is 100% a family man, 100% great businessman, has solid morals. He actually cares about, even when he talks to his fans. I watch everything he does because that's somebody like I would like to emulate, in a way, in a different way. So I watch and I listen and I see him, interact with his fans or, just people in the gym. And you would never think he's 7-time Mr. Olympia and as successful as he is, but the way he interacts with it, and it's really him. And I base it off my interactions with him daily. I see him every day. We talk all the time. And he is one of the most stand-up, just good fucking dudes in the industry. And now I see more why people have loved him and gravitated towards him. And he looks out for others like big time.
So he has a reputation like John Meadows does, sort of.
Exactly. Yes.
Oh. Yeah, I love
Meadows. John Meadows is another one. I always loved John. I looked up to him in a way. It was weird. When I competed with him and beat him at nationals, it was a cool feeling, but it was a little weird. I looked up to him. I remember he would message me all the time, take it easy with the squatting, this and that. And I got to know John really well. And, to this day, I still look at him. I'm like, that's the ideal man this industry needs for these young guys to see. He's a family man, family first,
and excellent and very intelligent and great source of information and caring. And I mean, he's really a role model for all of us, I think.
Oh, big time. Big time. Yeah. Very, very good man.
Why did Flex not compete, by the way? I never knew the story.
Yeah. So he put it out there. One, they were doing the move. That was a big thing. But two, he had some gut issues. He put out, I'm only talking about things he put out there.
I just don't know what he put out there. That's
he had some gut issues going on for a while, which he's working with the guy I'm working with now because he hooked me up with him. He's feeling great. He also took time off of the gym. His joints are very, he's 7-time Mr. Olympia, doing it since he was a teenager. Yeah. His joints are very beat up. So he took off a couple months off the gym, cleaned out. He went to Colombia. He got stem cell treatment. One of the most premier places to get him done. And he actually just started beginning of February training again, and he's going to be doing the Open this year.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I'm looking a lot into the different kinds of stem cell treatments myself. There's a lot of advances going on in the future. Like in the future, for the brain in particular, they're going to be depositing stem cells in a way that with scaffolding that can go into your brain. See, the problem with, I don't know if I always talk about neurogenesis and growth factors in the brain. The thing that I never mention is that if you just have endless amounts of neurogenesis, you're going to get that senescent cell thing in your brain. Okay. You don't have an endless amount of stem cells. You can't just keep growing everything. I mean, hopefully your body will kill the cells that are senescent, but you'll run out of cells at some point in your brain. You can't just have So I'm eventually going to need stem cells. So I've been looking into it myself.
Yeah. So what I know about, I would like to get stem cells just for the joint, the overall anti-aging and joint. Joe Rogan spoke about this on his podcast with Ronnie Coleman. He had a herniated disc, did it as a test. He got stem cells done. And 2 weeks later, the herniation was gone.
So I called Joe Rogan's place, actually. I've been in contact with them. So you know what they want? They want $7,000 per injection for me. So I was like, dude, what are you putting in this injection? It costs $7,000. I want to know, can I buy the equipment and make it myself?
That's the difference. So actual stem cells aren't FDA approved in the US. Supposedly there's a place in Texas that does it, but I looked it up because I'm interested in it for my back. Eventually I want to get it done.
These are not stem cells. This is just PRP with growth factors, by the way. It's not even stem cells. Imagine 7,000.
Exactly that. So stem cells in the US are not what they claim for it to be. Again, governmental bullshit. They don't want you to heal. But you go to Germany or you go to Colombia, where I believe it's from the embryo.
Mesenchymal. I don't know how to say it. Yeah,
that's exactly. The real stem cells.
Yeah.
That's the actual healing. The ones here are a scam.
So there's that, and then there's also, by the way, another level of it. So sometimes they don't put the actual stem cell, but they take what's called the extra cellular vesicle, which is this vesicle outside the cell. If you just take that by itself, sometimes you don't get the inflammation that can come from having the stem cell, which you won't get from the mesenchymal or whatever it's called. But if it's someone else's stem cell or something like that, you take this extra cellular vesicle, and that, because you know the main point. So there's 2 points. One is to actually put stem cells, which is where you want that mesenchymal or whatever kind of stem cell, because you actually want to grow new cells. But another goal, which is the main goal for PRP or for stem cells in the US and all that, is to try to get growth factors in the body to go there. So when you have a baby cell, it causes growth factors, like the growth factors in your blood, not just growth hormone, but the downstream ones, like fibroblast growth factor, endothelial growth factor, vascular, all this vascular endothelial growth factor, all these kind of growth factors. So these growth factors then protect cells from dying and also limit pain in the area. So I think that's what the goal is with that stuff. But when you put it in systemically, I don't know how that works. So he did it systemic?
He got it systemically. Yeah, he actually, if you check out his YouTube channel, he documented it.
Oh, wow. Oh, really? Cool.
Yeah, I would love to get them done one. I mean, I think it's like 30 or 40 grand.
Yeah, I've heard. So is that the one that Mel Gibson's?
Correct.
The same place? Exactly. I've looked at that place too.
I don't know if it's the same place, but this is I know that place does a lot of the celebrities and a lot of the top, sports players like Derek Jeter and Alex Rodriguez and whatnot. All these people get it done. And I think the proof is in the pudding with it, because we see a lot of these guys still performing when they're a lot older. And like I said, I mean, I don't trust the United States medical system at all, or whatever else they put out. So, you go to Colombia, you go to Germany, and you'll find a lot of cures for a lot of things you never expect to be there.
Can I ask you two last things I wanted to ask you? Oh, well, actually, yeah, two. One thing, did you notice as many blood clots happening with pro bodybuilders before COVID? Do you notice how many blood clots there are going on right now?
Oh, so I didn't really notice any before COVID.
Yeah, right? We never heard about that.
I mean, I know 3 or 4 off the top of my head that had blood clots within the last year.
Same. The second one I want to ask you is, what do you think the average men's open pro bodybuilder, because I know you coach pros and stuff like that, so I wanted to know, what is your estimation of their average creatinine level? Because I don't know. I'm just curious.
So
is it like 1.2, 1.5?
That's the thing. It really varies from person to person. Like, for instance, I have a guy, he's 285, 290 pounds. His creatinine is like 1.25, maybe 1.3. That's as high as it goes, and then it falls back into normal.
By the way, EGFR is fine too, if you prefer that, whichever number you.
Yeah, that's the thing, dude. It really depends on. It varies so much. I can't even really give you an average.
It's not even. Yeah, there's so much variance, huh?
Oh, like big time. I mean, it depends on their training, what they're taking, how hydrated they are.
That shows you it shows you how much the genetics affected, right?
Oh yeah, because I think that's a big thing too. Is not only genetics of muscle building, but the genetic ability to have healthier organs with the drug use. Like, there's some people, they start their first cycle and their body falls apart, and then there's pros that have the genetic ability to be able to take more drugs and would be able to withstand them. And then there's others who just
so true. I mean, just to give the audience an example of how that could happen. Like you have glutathione in your body, right? So there's a lot of polymorphisms that affect how much glutathione you synthesize, how it's distributed, all that kind of stuff. The more you have, the better you'll be able to deal with toxins and oxidative stress, the less your kidney will get damaged. That's just one way. And just from glutathione, there's so many other potential ways, so yeah, it's really, thank God. I mean, I don't know how mine seem fine. Not that I did a lot with steroids, but I lived a rough life, like just smoking 15 years, all these kind of different things I did, drinking a lot. So I'm surprised, especially my liver. My liver should have some kind of damage in it.
Yeah, but you look at you look at a lot of drug addicts, like they're drinking, smoking, and injecting drugs, and
that's what I'm talking about. I've drank before 5 Jameson bottles of whiskey a day.
Some people can handle it.
Yeah, some people would die.
Yeah,
literally, once 5 bottles in one day, they would be dead.
That's some people could just can handle it, and then next thing, how these people outliving healthy people.
Exactly. So no, I mean, obviously, maybe I'll die in 5 years or something. So this will be laughable later. But I'm just saying, even the fact that I lived past that one day, because there are people like, for example, many people don't know this ashwagandha, which people love to take, commonly associated with total liver failures. Like people will take ashwagandha for a week. It's all over the literature. Like you'll see all these clinical reports of they take it for 2 weeks, they go into the hospital, the ALT, AST are 5,000, 4,000, liver failure, need a transplant the same day or they die. Like that kind of situation. Whereas, so there's such a difference, and we don't know necessarily, like that person who could have died from ashwagandha, imagine they took Anadrol. So that's how it sometimes happens, and we just is the luck of the draw. But anyway, the last thing I want to ask you about Vegas, just out of curiosity, because I wanted to move there. What do you do in your free time there? Like, do you go to the strip? Do you go to?
I don't really go to the strip too much. Like honestly, all my free time, I work. Well, my client work more than anything. I go to the gym and I work. I go shooting a lot because I love guns. Yes, that's one thing I love about here is you're allowed to have whatever you want. Shotguns, AR-15s, pistols. Like I love guns. So I go shooting a lot. I haven't really rode my motor. I used to be a big time motorcycle rider, but I'm a little worried about hurting my back right now. So I haven't really rode too much. But mainly, dude, it's been working and shooting guns, and I may hang out with friends when we may go out to eat, get some sushi, or.
But do the normal Vegas people like go to the strip on weekends or something? Do they?
Honestly, not really.
No, right?
That's the thing. It's like people in New York, like you don't really go to Manhattan unless like you really wanted to go out to eat or something. People here don't really go to the strip. I mean, it's a tourist area, especially in the weekends. How crowded it gets. Good luck driving around there. But you know what? Like I have to say, when I go to the strip, when I have a reason to go to the strip, like say if I'm going out to eat or I was doing my vitamin IVs at the strip, I like going there because I live here. But I'm sure in like a couple months, I'm like, I don't want to go anywhere near there.
What about conventions? Is it like convenient? So one of the main reasons we wanted to move there is because there's so many conventions. It might be a great place to meet people. And
so this is the convention center of the U.S. So which is pretty cool is they are starting to reopen the conventions in May or June for people to come in now with COVID, because conventions were one of the biggest money makers of Vegas. For instance, my dad every year would go to World of Concrete. It would always be in Vegas, and they would select premier contractors to do an exhibit, some sort of application, and people from all over the world would go to World of Concrete. Then you got gun shows, car shows, hell, you even got porn conventions.
Yeah, I've heard about that one. My friends went to it in college. Yeah, I missed that one.
Yeah.
Although I'm not sure I would have wanted to go. It probably sounds a bit gross, to be honest with you. But in college, I thought it sounded good.
The idea doesn't appeal to me to see a bunch of weirdos meeting a bunch of porn stars.
No, especially the people there. You don't want to meet the people there, especially. Yeah.
I've seen videos and pictures of it. It just looks like weird.
Comic-Con too, right? Comic-Con's based there.
No, I know they have Comic-Con in New York.
It's in San Diego. Is it somewhere else?
They do. They have Comic-Con in New York.
Oh, really? Is that the main place it is?
I don't know if it's a main place, but they have it at the Javits Center.
Yeah, that is a real reason to be there, though. You could probably go to a convention every weekend if you wanted to.
But if you really wanted to, they have everything from medical conventions.
If you wanted to do business, you could find a lot of entrepreneurship opportunities.
Oh, I remember they had Matt Porter would go to the supplement convention, and you'd meet the different distributors and see a lot of the new products that are coming out, ingredients that are coming out.
Matt Porter lived in Vegas too?
Yeah. Actually, him and his wife tried getting me to move here 2017.
Really? Who are the guys that live in Vegas? It's Jay Cutler and
now you got Jay Cutler, Flex Lewis, Matt Porter, but he unfortunately passed away. We have Dennis Wolf. I seen Dennis the other day. Who else do we have? We have now Sean Roden's moving here. Who else do we have?
Is he going to work out at Flex's gym?
Yeah, I posted a picture the other day. Yeah.
No way. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I got to visit you now. You're going to hook me up. I'm going to meet everybody.
We have so many we have Rafael Verdejo there now. Hassan Mustafa, which Hassan he's with Project AD, the sponsor I'm with. You got to look him up. He's 27.
I know. Yeah, I would love to meet Hassan or interview him. Hassan's Egyptian. He speaks Arabic. So
yes, he does. He started learning English. He's a little...
I could speak to him in Arabic. Yeah, I could interview him in Arabic.
He would love that. I mean, he would love that, I'm sure.
He's so humble and his physique is unbelievable. He's
a gentle giant. He is huge. I mean,
real life too, huh?
Oh, pictures do him no job. He looks huge in pictures. You see him in person, his arms are like, dude, I'm not
no way.
You look at him, you're like, oh my God. And he's just so humble and soft spoken. Like, he'll be training with Flex and, you guys are yelling. He'll be, come on. And like, that's this huge guy, this soft spoken, but great guy too. Who else do we have so many people. We have Mark Anthony here, the first ever Physique Olympia. Oh. He's a good friend of mine. He's helped me out a lot since I moved here. Flex Wheeler here. I met Flex Wheeler for the first time a few months ago.
Wow. So a lot of people are there. It's almost as dense as LA, I guess.
Oh, now you have a lot more people moving here because of the gym.
The final thing I wanted to ask you, Dom. So what are your next plans? I know your main career, your main thing is coaching, right? Are you going to compete again?
Oh yeah. So I love people when they ask me this question, like, so you're done competing, right? As if like I confirm that I'm done. So I'm only 20, dude. I look like I'm 35, 40, but I'm only 27. Yeah. And, I'm glad I took some time away from the stage. I found my passion again I love competing. I need to put the size back on that I just lost and get better. But my goal is to step on stage a year from now and do a couple of shows and just have fun with it and, see how I do and get better from there and get myself out there a bit more. But dude, I'm healthy. I'm young. I'm not done competing. As long as I step on stage at my best, I'm happy. My clients are number one. My coaching is always my priority. Those people are paying for me. I work for them. And one of the main things I don't want to give too many details about is I'd like to actually, like everybody else now, open up a legitimate hormone replacement rejuvenation center. And in Vegas, it would thrive. You have a lot of people here, money. A lot of people want to stay young, stay healthy, and eventually expand that into other states, even one in LA and move on from that. But that's the general outline of what I want to do and what I'm doing currently. But yeah, I'm definitely stepping on stage again.
So that's I think, people sometimes dismiss this HRT clinic thing as being like I don't know, because there's a lot of them. So they think it's just but it's actually a valuable service. Without it, people are doing something illegal. Like if you don't have that, there's no way we can do it, and also changes lives, because
that's the thing psychologically. Yeah, I mean, you have people with low testosterone, women with hormonal problems, and they go to their regular doctor and they're like, oh, no, you can't take this. You can't take that. Yeah. So I don't believe in these places that are drug mills. Yeah. That's not a rejuvenation center. That is not, a wellness center. I believe there is a way that it can be done healthily with proper doctor, open-minded doctors, not these closed-minded doctors. Oh, testosterone is bad. Because you can save people's lives with the way they think and the way they feel, save their marriages, save their relationships with and their interaction with other people by the way they feel and the way they look, their self-confidence. But yeah,
I always, people sometimes think I'm like very anti-testosterone. It's not that. It's just that the idea that the way I say it is like, if you want to live to 120 years old, you're probably better off being a woman. Women live longer. So So you know what I mean? Testosterone isn't going to make you live the longest, but it's probably for most men having even a higher dose of testosterone. Like what I have a video on saying like 400 milligrams is the resilience dose, like a dose that makes you formidable, feel masculine, have energy, have drive. If you're going through a difficult time in your life, it's very valuable. It can really help people.
I've seen it change people. I mean, it was my dad. When he started, he was like, it changed my life. He tells people it changed, not only the bodybuilding changed my life, but it, going on testosterone at 47, 48, he was, whatever it was, changed his life. I mean, even people I used to see in the motorcycle club world, there were a lot of older guys, 40, 50, 60s. And I would tell them, they wouldn't know, go get your levels checked, dude. See right. And they'd be low. And all of a sudden they'd start or get a doctor to do it. And a few weeks later, they're like, oh my God. you know, I have boners all the time. All I want to do is fuck my wife. Like, it's great, you know, and they feel good. They feel stronger. They're healing more. So, you know, a place that truly cares about its patients and isn't a drug mill is what I'd like to do.
Are you
I love helping people.
Do you have partners, or are you opening it by yourself?
Well, I mean, I don't have anything in the works yet. Like, I'm talking to different companies and seeing which ones I would partner the best with. And, you know, I would be working with a partner or two because it is very expensive to get started. But yeah, I'm talking with a few companies now to see which ones are, you know, I align the best with in my views and my morals too. Yeah. So hopefully, if not at the end of this year, next year. You know, I'm not rushing, no pressure. I'm just planning ahead.
I'm sure you'll do great. That sounds like a great place to do it as well. So how can people reach out to you? I'm going to add your contact information, but how can they hire you for coaching? Because I'm sure. Yes. I've talked to you a lot in private. I just wanted people to know you're extremely knowledgeable and ethical and honorable and honest and diligent and not only that, but like you really, when you give people their worth and you're very respectful of their time and so on. You know, I think you'd be a pleasure to work with personally.
I appreciate that, bro. I mean, I treat people the way I want to be treated. So basically, you can contact me on Instagram, IFBB Pro Dominic Cardone, or they can email me at ifbbdomcardone@gmail.com. Honestly, fastest way, add me on Instagram, DM me, and, you know, we'll talk if we have a good client, you know, coach relationship that we can work on.
We'll do that. All right. We'll stop recording. Thank you so much.
Thank you, dude.
All right.